I do want to go to CBS News Homeland Security correspondent Nicole Sganga, who is joining us. And Nicole, what is the latest that you can tell us?
Yeah, at this time, this is a very fluid law enforcement situation. We do know that vehicle is reported to have rammed into the synagogue and started a small fire. We are working to confirm any reports, and we know that you just read that statement aloud, Lindsey, regarding the state of the perpetrator, whether or not he is in fact deceased. So working just to get that confirmation from law enforcement on the scene. We do know that FBI has been deployed to the scene, as well as Homeland Security investigations, that there is a big law enforcement presence underway, but there was obviously also a security presence outside of the synagogue at that time. And this is actually what Homeland Security officials have been very fearful of, particularly as the war with Iran overseas continues. In fact, on February 28th, there was a critical incident note from the Department of Homeland Security that circulated regarding the threat of lone offenders, and it specifically called out hate crime perpetrators attacking targets perceived to be Jewish, pro-Israel, or linked to the U.S. government and military. So, of course, this was a concern from law enforcement officials who were fearful and who had been, warning and in constant communication with faith-based institutions across the country, and particularly the Jewish community. And we know a number of security officials within the Jewish community, the ADL, Secure Communities Network, have been activated and are also trying to find out more information about what is happening in that very fluid situation in Detroit there, Lindsey. But, as Sam was pointing out, there is, typically a protocol in place. A lot of Jewish institutions will typically go through, unfortunately, training for these kinds of vehicle ramming incidents or active shooter situations. So still trying to find out more information. As of this point, we have not heard of any injuries or casualties outside of possibly a perpetrator there on the scene, but still trying to really figure out what's what as investigators are going to probe to figure out where that suspect or individual came from, what the motivation was, if this looks like what it appears to be.
Really quick, just something that you had said. What does training for vehicle ramming look like?
Yeah, I mean, this is very challenging. Oftentimes it involves bollards that are placed around a physical structure or gates. Obviously, right now, we know that law enforcement is also possibly checking cameras that are around that vehicle, but it can be a very difficult thing to protect against. I mean, we saw, I want to say maybe a year and a half ago, as was the case around New Year's in New Orleans, that horrific vehicle ramming that occurred there. That have been similar situations that have played out in crowded areas in New York City. But typically, law enforcement, if they feel as though there is a special event or a reason why a lot of individuals would be gathering around a place of worship, they might place a police vehicle or law enforcement outside of a building, or they might build that building further away to prevent any kind of vehicle attack or ramming. But sometimes it is difficult to prevent this kind of situation from unfolding. And we'll see if moving forward, this institution or others take steps to safeguard against that.
Okay. Nicole Sganga, thank you. Let's go back to CBS News Justice correspondent Scott McFarland with some new information. Scott, what can you tell us?
Multiple sources tell CBS News that the person suspected of this attack today in Oakland County, Michigan, is dead, was taken down by security. And as we've been mentioning, there is enhanced security at so many religious facilities across the country, and the Oakland County Sheriff said this would be among them. So the person believed responsible for this attack by car at a synagogue in West Bloomfield, Michigan, is dead. The Oakland County Sheriff said an investigation is underway with local police, but we also see the FBI is on scene. You saw state police vehicles moving through that area. This is now a high-octane investigation with multiple levels of law enforcement trying to figure out who this person is and what this person was trying to do, perhaps why, here in Detroit.
Scott, we heard Nicole say that after the ramming that there was a fire. Was that a result of the ramming, or is it possible that this person set a fire up after ramming the car? the vehicle.
Yeah, and the local sheriff was asked about this. I think that's going to be a component of the investigation, though there's certainly the likelihood of somebody doing a vehicle ramming could also be responsible for a fire. If you look at those images there, you can see the nature of this neighborhood. There's a lot of open space in the area, but so many facilities, so many religious facilities in this day and age also have security bollards to prevent these types of attacks, and I suspect that's an investment a number of religious facilities are considering all the warnings and the alerts that have been going out about potential targeting.
Scott McFarland, thank you so much. Let's go back to, yes, I believe now that we have a hopefully more secure connection with our CBS News national security contributor, Sam Vinograd. Sam, can you hear me?
I can, Lindsay. Thank you.
And so the last time that you were speaking with us, we kept getting hits. Would you like to complete your thought?
Yeah, so I was just saying that there is such a diverse range of bad actors who seek to inflict harm in the Jewish community that intel, law enforcement, and counterterrorism officials are working this hard. There are just so many threat streams to follow. And what the law enforcement, intelligence, and counterterrorism community is doing is working to do what we call prevention.
Oh, it's not meant to be. All right, Sam Vinograd, we appreciate you. I believe we're able to talk to Anna, who is still here on set with me. Anna Schechter, senior coordinating producer for our crime and public safety, and you've been on your phone feverishly. Is there anything else you can share, or are you still just working sources?
Working sources. We'll likely get an identification confirmed very soon. So all signs are pointing a targeted attack on a synagogue, on the Jewish community at this point. Enough planning went in to do this, but clearly the system worked. The security guard took out the suspect very quickly, and thankfully there were no other injured people from inside. And you had probably hundreds of people inside this facility. This is a big facility, so normally you wouldn't think on a Thursday morning you have a big, large crowd of people at synagogue, but it's also a school. It's a community center. So, classes were in session. So this is a place where you have more than 12,000 members. It's more than 3,500 families belonging to this synagogue. This is a big deal. This is a very, a soft target and a very symbolic one, given the size of this synagogue and Jewish community center. And notably, you see that there's a Jewish community center, which is a daycare nearby, that all of the children were able to evacuate to. So, pretty significant Jewish community in this area, and with multiple visibly Jewish locations, and the suspect targeted the largest one.
What is this going to mean for security at these institutions moving forward? Because we had these bollards that apparently a vehicle was still able to. I mean, it's a bit eerily reminiscent to, and obviously different situation here. We have no idea any information about the bollards here at this synagogue. But remember the attack in New Orleans, where those bollards were temporary.
That was the first thing that came to my mind. Right, and the bollards were not up to par. The system did not work. It essentially failed there. There should have been bollards that did not allow that truck. That was another vehicle ramming attack, an ISIS-inspired attack on New Year's Day, 2025 in New Orleans. And the bollard issue was front and center. And security officials descended on New Orleans to do an evaluation and help the city improve their security. Now, in this case, you have already had this particular synagogue, for sure, we know that from our sources, had been having regular security briefings on threats. They had likely been running drills. They were definitely well prepared for an attack, especially since the start of the Iran war. But I will tell you, all of these religious sites have been in a heightened threat environment since October 7th, 2023. So it's hard to stay on heightened alert for more than 2 years because you get tired. But that is what these security officials need to do. And when I interview them, You know, it's like they get worn down because of the increased number of threats and increased number of attacks. Let's look at last year. This is before the Iran war. You had 2 people shot and killed in front of the Israeli embassy in Washington, D.C. You had an attack on a march for hostages in Denver, Colorado, just a few months before that. This is like a constant drip, drip. And then I think back to the Tree of Life Synagogue a few years before that, the synagogue in Pittsburgh. So it's not like this is out of the blue happening. It's just the pace at which it's happening has increased.
And so when you say this is an example of the system working here, that isn't necessarily to prevent all horrific things from happening. But as far as we know right now, there is no injury or loss of life except to that of this bad actor.
That's exactly right. So when I say the system is working, that means that the bad actor couldn't exit the vehicle, start opening fire and shooting people because that security guard was well trained and handled the situation. But what I will say is, a lot of questions here. Was this suspect on the FBI's radar, on the radar of local police? It is impossible to pinpoint every potential lone wolf actor.
The 2 suspects on Saturday outside Gracie Mansion were not known to police.
That's exactly right. And they clearly had been planning it for at least a week because we know, and CBS News was first to report, that one of them purchased the fuse for those IEDs a little more than a week before the attack on March 2nd. So this is the situation that we're living in right now, and it really does feel un-American. Because 20 years ago, you definitely had more of a sense of safety, particularly I'm thinking of the Jewish community. And there's an ebb and a flow to this, and we are in a dark time when it comes to the threat environment, particularly at Jewish and Israeli sites, but at all religious sites. You've had a lot of shootings at churches. You've had threats to mosques. You know, every single religious group is in a heightened threat environment all day, every day. That's the reality of the situation right now.
All right, we do have statements from some lawmakers, including Senator Slotkin, who represents Michigan, who posted on X saying that she's closely tracking the active shooter situation. And I'm just reading this here as I read it to you. This is another frightening event that is still being cleared. My team and I will be in close contact with law enforcement. And then she says all communities deserve the right to worship safely. All communities, and acts of terror and anti-Semitism must be condemned and dealt with to the fullest extent of the law.